Hello and welcome to Gefet in Daf Yomi. This is something that we do together, Hadran and Yeshivat Risha, bringing to you every week a little bit more depth in your learning of Daf Yomi. I'm Yael Shimoni, and I've been teaching today in English what Rabbanit Chana Godinger Dreyfus has taught in Hebrew. And what I'll be teaching you now is a bit of what she said in Hebrew. Those of you who want to hear the entire Gefet can listen to her broadcast. So today, we called our Gefet, How Do You Learn Gemara? That's a very big statement. Is that what we're going to do in these next 10 minutes? So, in a certain sense, yes. What I want to do together with you is a Tosfot that will ask a question that we're not used to having seen in Tosfot. Every week we've been learning Rashi and Tosfot, and we saw that Tosfot has all kinds of questions to ask about the Gemara. A lot of Tosfot's questions have to do how one thing that's stated in this Gemara contradicts another Gemara, and from the Iyun and the Tosfot, we discover new ideas in Torah. But if we look at the Tosfot in our Daf Chaf Amud Aleph, we'll see a new question, or question we're not used to seeing in Tosfot, which might shed light on what does it mean to learn Torah Be'iyun in general. So let's begin. I'll begin by reading the Gemara, where the Tosfot asks his question. So this Gemara raises many questions, and there are other questions that Tosfot asks in the Daf, but we'll see what's the specific question we want to learn today. Okay, so the Gemara in Masechet Rosh Hashanah asks whether or not the Beis Din can play around with the edus that come to them and say that we saw the moon or we didn't see the moon, because they don't want to have the Chodesh, Rosh Chodesh, at a certain date. They want to postpone it, or they want to have it earlier for all kinds of reasons. This is a very interesting sugya, and there are many questions to ask about it. How could it be that Beit Din can do such things? Isn't the Rosh Chodesh really connected to the moon and to the reality of when we see the moon? Those are very big questions that all kinds of Rishonim have dealt with in this parak. And here we have a specific discussion between the Chachamim about two different ways that Beis Din can decide not to accept what the Eidim tell them. So I'm reading. Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi says, Me'ayimim al Eidim, we scare the Eidim. We ask them many questions to confuse them. When do we confuse the Eidim? If they saw the moon on time, but we don't want to have it now on time. We want to have it the next day. We want to postpone it one day forward. So we can ask the 80 many questions and make them contradict themselves and not listen to them saying that they saw the moon. That's what Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi says. But, says Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi, you cannot not listen to the 80 if they say that they did not see the moon. If they did not see the moon, you can't make them say that they did see the moon. So as I said before, this whole statement of Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi is very confusing. How can it be that Beis Din is playing around with the edus of the Eidim? But at least Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi says something that does make sense. If Beis Din doesn't want to listen to an edus, he can make the Eidim contradict themselves. But obviously, Beis Din can't force Eidim to say a lie. So that's what Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi says. If the Eidim say they saw the moon, Beis Din can make them confused and decide not to listen to them. But obviously, Beis Din cannot make them say they saw the moon if they did not see anything. Continues the Gemara and asks, Ini, is that really what Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi said? How can that be? We heard that Rabbi Yehuda Nesi'ah sent to Rabbi Ami to tell us that Rabbi Yochanan taught us that you can make the Eidim also say a lie. Not only you can make the Eidim confuse and contradict themselves, you can also force the Eidim to say that they saw the moon even if they didn't see anything. So that's the Gemara we have in front of us. And it's a very strange Gemara, because Rabbi Yochanan is telling us that we can actually force the Eidim to say a lie. How could that be? Says Abaye, I'll answer your question, Yael. I won't tell you how can it be, but I can tell you that Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi and Rabbi Yochanan do not contradict. Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi said that you cannot make the Eidim lie. Rabbi Yochanan said that you can. Abaye says it's true. It's not so hard. They're not contradicting. You cannot make them lie sometimes, and you can make them lie at another time. You can make them lie at Nisan and Tishrei, but you can't make them lie in other Rosh Chodesh. As a matter of fact, there's a machloket in the Rishonim. When can we make the Eidim lie, in Nisan and Tishrei or in other Rashi Chodashim? We will not deal with this machloket, and of course, this sugya raises many, many questions. How can it be that Beis can do such things in the first place? And why would you be able to do these things dafka in Nisan and Tishrei and not in the other times of the year, or maybe vice versa? Many, many questions that this sugya raises. So, what will we learn today? What is the question that Tosfot will ask on this sugya? So Tosfot, as I said before, discusses the statement of Abaye. When is it that we can actually make the Eidim lie? But he also has another question, which is a little surprising. Says Tosfot the following: Shalach le Rabbi Yehuda Nasiya le Rabbi Ami. Remember, there were two mamers. One was in the name of Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. The other was in the name of Rabbi Yochanan. But it wasn't Rabbi Yochanan saying direct statements. It was Rabbi Yehuda Nasiya that sent Rabbi Ami and Bavel. What Rabbi Yochanan said, asks the Tosfot, or states the Tosfot, Yael, this Rabbi Yehuda Nasiya is not the same Rabbi Yehuda Nasiya that you have in Masechet Avodah Zarah. That's what the Tosfot has to say. There are two different Rabbi Yehuda Nasiya. In Masechet Avodah Zarah, there's Rabbi Yehuda Nasiya that did one thing. What did Rabbi Yehuda Nasiya and Avodah Zarah do? He decided that even though many, many years we were not mutar to use oil of goyim, now we are mutar to use oil of goyim. That's in Masechet Avodah Zarah. That's also a statement by Rabbi Yehuda Nasiya. And here Rabbi Yehuda Nasiya says that Rabbi Yochanan said that you can make the Eidim lie. Okay, so what does Tosfot have to say? It is not the same Rabbi Yehuda Nasiya. How does Tosfot notice? First, notice Tosfot cares. When Tosfot sees a name of a Rav, Rabbi Yehuda Nasiya in this case, he wants to know what kind of Rabbi Yehuda Nasiya is it? Is it the same man that he met in a different Masechta? So that's classic Tosfot, because we've seen the Tosfot, as we saw before, when he reads one sugya, he always looks at the entire Shas. He takes the entire Shas and does it into a bowl, into a whole world, and he wants everything to be harmonic, and he checks one Masechta while he's reading another Masechta. So here, Tosfot is learning Rosh Hashanah, but he also knows Masechet Avodah Zarah, and he puts them together. He didn't have all the computers that we have now and all the abilities that we have now, but he had his mind and he had a special way to do this. So that's why when he reads one Masechta, he's also reading the entire Shas. So that is a classic Tosfot, to take two different sugyas and check if they contradict and to try to understand them. But here, Tosfot question is not two different ideas in the sugya. It's discussing who is Rabbi Yehuda Nasiya. This is a historical question, not what Rabbi Yehuda Nasiya said, but who is he and at what time of the Gemara did he live? So I'm reading the Tosfot and see what does he have to say. Who is Rabbi Yehuda Nasiya in Rosh Hashanah and who is Rabbi Yehuda Nasiya in Avodah Zarah? Says the Tosfot, our Rabbi Yehuda Nasiya in Rosh Hashanah is not the same Rabbi Yehuda in Avodah Zarah. In Avodah Zarah, he was at the time of Rav and Shmuel. And that's at one point. But here, he's a Talmid of Rabbi Yochanan. When Rabbi Yochanan was a few years after Rav and Shmuel. So these are two people who are called Rabbi Yehuda Nasiya, but they are not the same person. That is Tosfot here in Rosh Hashanah Daf Kaf Amud Aleph. So, what did I want to say in regard to learning Gemara after we see this Tosfot? We see that you can ask many questions on a sugya. Usually, nowadays, we think that different Batei Midrash ask different questions. Some Batei Midrash ask how to understand a din. Other Batei Midrash ask how to be pasking halacha. Other Batei Midrash, or maybe in academia, are interested in the historical part of the sugya. Other Batei Midrash are interested in what exactly was written in different Kitvei Yad. We're used to seeing each Beit Midrash with their own special questions. But we've learned Tosfot for a while, and we see that Tosfot did not have this breakup that we used to having. Tosfot himself asks many different questions. And when he's learning, he doesn't say, this is a question that I will have in my midrash, and this is a question that is not relevant. Tosfot wants to understand everything about the Gemara. And he asks any question, and all questions are welcome. He has questions in Machshava, he has questions in Gemara, he has questions in Halacha, and he also has questions in history. And this is what we see in the Tosfot here in Daf Kaf. So today we use our sugya to open our minds and our hearts to understanding what does it mean to learn Gemara Be'iyun? What does it mean to learn Gemara anywhere? Learning Gemara, at least that's what Tosfot teaches us, means that you ask all kinds of questions. All questions are welcomed, at least in the Bet Midrash of the Tosfot, and we do not decide that a historical question or knowing who the person is not an important one. This question is as important as other questions in the sugya. I hope that Tosfot will open our eyes to see that we are allowed to ask many questions that maybe we'd not think are suitable in learning before.